What is exceptions? So an exception is an error which occurs while running the project workflow and it terminates the workflow without executing next step. What happens when exception occurs, like while running the project, when exception occurs, it terminates the workflow without executing the next step or next activity, or you can say the next sequence that we have added in our workflow in project. Exception cannot be ignored and it must be handled at any cost. If you have created any workflow, any project, and you are getting any exceptions and you are not handling that every time you will get that exceptions. So exception can be handled by using some mechanism, using some activities available in UiPath. You can handle that exceptions. So it must be handled at any cost, such as selector not found exceptions. Selector not found exception is a part of, you can say, UiPath, because it was not in C# or any other languages. This is added for only UiPath. So selector not found exception, this is also one type of exceptions. File not found exception, like if we have created a project to open the file, or you can say to read the file, to read the config file, and the file is not available, then this exception will occur, file not found exceptions, or format exception, etc. So these are the exceptions occurs in our projects or workflow, and it terminates the workflow without executing the next activity or next sequence. So let's see a few examples of exceptions which occur in project or our workflow. First we'll learn about the selector not found exceptions. It looks like this. When we'll create any project, and if you are getting any selector not found exceptions, that will look like the same. You can see here in exception type, here in a screenshot, if you see in exception type, it shows that UiPath.core.selector not found exception. It means this is not a part of system exceptions, this is a part of UiPath code exceptions. It occurs if a specified selector not found. It means like we are going to click on any elements and that elements is not available, then this selector not found application will occur. Let's see one example. I have created one demo for you and you will see how this error looks like. So let's suppose this is I have created already one demo for the selector not found. This is for data scraping. I have just used one flipkart.com website, and we are going to just search Samsung S10 and we'll data scrape from there. So if I will run from here, if I will run here, then you'll see the error will occur. After 30 seconds you will get an error if UiPath is not able to found the selector. So now you can see here, if you see this, the runtime execution error. So this is the exceptions. If you see here exception type, UiPath.core.selector not found exceptions. So which selector is not found? So let's see here. We have used one attached browser, and from that, using that browser, we are extracting the structured data from there. And for that we will have to open the website flipkart.com, and we will have to open the same S10 product which is same in title, then it will work. Otherwise it will show an exception selector not found error like this. So this type of exception we get in UiPath. This can be also handled using try catch activity. So we'll learn later. So next exception is file not found. File not found exception is also part of system exceptions. It looks like this. If you see here exception type, it's showing that system.io.found file not found exception. It occurs when requested file is not found. It means like when we are going to read config file in our project and the config file is somehow that is deleted, then you will get that error, that system.io.file not found exceptions. Suppose like you have created one project and that time your project was working fine, your there was no exception in that project, and after 4 to 5 months or after 1 year that config file is not available there. By mistake someone has deleted or that is renamed with another name. So what will happen if you run that project? So you will get this exception, file system file not found exception. So this can be also handled using try catch activities and this the tools available in UiPath to handle the exceptions. I have just created another workflow and I'm just going to read the config xlx file, and from the set 1 I'm going to just read the data from the config file. So if I will run this, let's see what will happen. So now you can see here in the exception type the error is system.io.file not found exception. It means the file not found exception is a part of system.io class. It means it is the subclass of system.io class. So this can be also handled if this config file is not available, then using try catch and using this exception handling mechanism you can handle that exceptions. So we'll see that later. So next exception is invalid operation exceptions. It will look like this, like system.invalid operation exceptions. The message you can see also, the message here cannot multiply a system.string with a system.string. It occurs when performing invalid operations like multiply with string value instead of integer. Like we have created one project to multiply 2 equal to 4. It should be run like 2 multiply 2 equal to 4, but the user is passing a string value instead of integer. It means there are two input box. In first input box user is passing 2, and in second input box user is passing any other value, any string value. So that time you will get this error, system.invalid operation exceptions. So let's see the example of this. If you see here, invalid operation exceptions. So here I have created I have used 2 input dialog box, and I'm just using number 1 multiply number 2, and I'm just going to run this. Here it is asking for any number, so I'm just going to put here 5, and then second number, it means I want to just multiply with 5 multiply 3. So what will happen? So here is getting an error. It's showing that cannot multiply a system.string with a system string. It means this is invalid operation exception. So why? Because if you see here the variable of number 1, number 2 and Kelsey, everything is showing that generic value. It means the number it is taking as a string first time. Now we are just going to change this to integer 32 and now run this, and let's see. 5 multiply 3, it's showing 15, because now the UiPath is considering that we are going to multiply with the integer with integer. That's why the message is showing 15. The next exception is overflow exceptions. It will look like this. This is the type of because the overflow exception is a subclass of system.exception base class. So here you can see, if you click on detail from that exceptions, you will see here system.overflow exceptions. It means value was either too large or too small for an integer 32. Like it occurs when input value is too large or too small. So we'll just see that example of that overflow. Let's suppose we are running this and we are passing value here, any number of 5. Now we are going to do some calculation on that, and we are passing here the like overflow means we are passing here like this, and just we'll press OK. So that will show an error. So now you can see here the message is 8888885 is not a valid value for integer 32, and exception type is system.exception. And if you click on detail, you will see here the system dot overflow exceptions. It means the value was either too large or too small for integer 32. So this type of exceptions is also part of system exceptions. This can be also handled using try catch activity. Now the next is format exceptions. It will also look like this. It occurs when input value is not in correct format. Okay, so let's see this. I have created one demo for you, that format exceptions. I have taken 2 input dialog box, and I'm just going to divide number 1 divided by number 2. So let's run this and check. In the first number I'm just passing 5, and the second number I'm not going to enter any integer value. I'm just going to put here that any string value by mistake. I just passed here any string value, and I pressed OK. Now let's see, you are getting an error in input dialog box. You are getting system.exceptions error. If you see here in details, then let's see here, system.format exceptions. It means the input string was not in correct format. I have just shown you the 5 exceptions, the few exceptions as an example. So there are multiple exceptions available in system.exceptions. You can handle those exceptions.